Procter & Gamble, one of the largest consumer products companies on the planet, has adopted a North Star goal of selling $50 billion in sustainable innovation products and sending zero consumer or manufacturing waste to landfills. Now, P&G is a consumer products company. It's a company that sells, very focused on selling. Right? It's the core competency of the organization. So having a dollar number in that was very effective for them. People know what $50 billion. They had a much smaller goal actually set when they first launched it, and they blew right by it. They found they blew right by it, which is kind of exciting. And they set a larger goal, and I think they'll actually beat that one too. And it's kind of really interesting that you'll see a lot of innovation happening in consumer-facing businesses right now because there's a norm here. So you'll watch, P&G's greatest competitor, Unilever, absolutely embrace sustainable consumption as a core to who they are. Because they know that consumers, particularly in developing nations now, are looking for a way to consume without polluting at the same time. There are actually two audiences that we see that, regardless of where you go on the planet, care deeply about sustainability and will actually pay a price premium for a sustainable product. One of them, young people, up to the age of 25. It's basically a global norm. It's one of the few things that you can see as common across people across nations, which is that young people expect that the companies that they do business with, or they expect to do business with, have high performance in this arena. The second audience, moms, particularly moms of young children. They will fight tooth and nail. They will spend the extra cent in their budget to find a way to make sure their child is protected. They are being moms. And they are universally connected and concerned with a set of issues. So how does P&G action this type of goal? This is a product called Tide Cold Water, which you may have seen. They also own the brand Ariel and a number of other laundry brands. Tide Cold Water allows you to wash your clothes in cold water. Makes sense? It cleans as well as washing them in hot water. Now, from an environmental standpoint, I'm thrilled, right? Because this radically reduces the amount of carbon dioxide released by people by heating water. They're incredible. And the way this came about, which is really interesting, is that a guy by the name of Len Sowers, who works for P&G, worked on an energy intensity study of the P&G supply chain. But they went back and forward. Now, in greenhouse gas compliance management, you are basically not responsible for anything outside of what you manufacture and do. You're responsible for your own backyard, and even, frankly, the plants that manufacture your things, you're not completely responsible for. Forward-looking companies say, I'm responsible not just for the things I directly manufacture, but the things I contract, I'm responsible for those greenhouse gas emissions as well, and eventually everyone will be required to do that. But what most people aren't required to do at all is think about what is the end product, what's the end use of that product, and what's the greenhouse gas footprint of that. When P&G looked at that, I don't know if you can see that big green bar that dwarfs everything else, it's really the only thing that's important on this. That big green bar of energy intensity is the use of hot water by people washing their clothes with P&G products. Now, again, P&G is not responsible technically for that. There is no trading regime that says that's their problem, they have to pay a tax or anything, so they don't need to deal with it. But Sowers thought it was interesting and went to the R&D department and said, hey, look at this. This seems really interesting. What do you think about it? If we could somehow reduce that number, that might be interesting. And they said, that's really funny because we have a new line of surfactants, of things that wash things, that work really well in cold water, but we haven't found a way to commercialize it. No one's really been interested in that. So Sowers put this together. They put it together with a large retailer who was also interested in sustainability, and they launched Tide Cold Water. Now, you will notice that this brand is not called Tide Planetary Death Protection Product. Tide Save the Rainforests. Tide, there's a frog on the cover of it. It wasn't called any of those things. It was called Tide Cold Water. And all of the communications that we produced for it, that P&G produced, all the communications were solely focused on one thing. This product will save you money. If you use this, you will save money on your energy bill. Now, maybe some of the consumers who bought it were really interested in the fact that it would be a climate change solution, but mostly they just thought it was a better product. It was just something that worked and saved them money. This was one of the best new brand launches that P&G happened. It's a $100 million line already. And it all came out of this sense of transparency. Oh, what type of energy do we release? This talking between units and business units, which if any of you work at big companies, you know is a real challenge. But Len was able to cross over to R&D and have a conversation and take something off the floor of R&D and find a way to commercialize it. It was a partnership between a retailer who was trying to make this difference and P&G, that working together. Those are all things that are good secrets to running a successful initiative right now. And it was all enabled by this sort of sense of higher purpose. They were all working on this on the side, separately, because they were personally passionate about it, and they were happy about it, and their kids were happy about it. Product innovation.